Had a couple of you guys ask me about my AP Technomancer, so just thought I would show it off real quick. I'm sure there's some similar builds out there, but there may be a few details that are different on this, so I thought I would put together a video. I'm going to call this the Moaning Scrap Cryo Techno. It came about because I got really kind of tired of playing a Blighted Rounds build, but Blighted Rounds is a stronger build, but I think this one is more fun. That's just my opinion. And this one can gold several CT-15 expeditions, not all of them, but a good many of them. So I think it's a plenty viable CT-15 build. And like I said, it's fun. If you're looking for the gear and the class tree, that's going to be at the very end of this video, so it is included. And while I'm mentioning the class tree, you'll see these brood mothers here get frozen and toxic put on them a little bit more often than you typically see. And that's one of the details about this build that I thought I would share. The second node in the bottom path of the class tree has a node called, I think it's called Disturbance Coating, and that is a 15% resistance piercing, but it is a noticeable difference. I've tried the 35% resistance armor reduction on the gun mod. I couldn't tell that did anything at all, but the 15% resistance piercing from that second node in the bottom path, that one I can definitely tell when I do or don't have it, so I think that's well worth picking up, because this build is so dependent upon inflicting status conditions that you just really need to be able to do that dependably. The middle path of the class tree has something like a 30% damage to frozen, 10% damage to frozen, vulnerability to frozen, extra vulnerability to frozen. And then I've got shatter and euthanizer on my gear, so it's 25% to frozen, 25% to toxic inflicted. So status conditions like double the damage of this build, so you need to be able to inflict those as often as possible. I guess first we'll talk about the skill cooldowns I got at the bottom of the screen here. I've got the blighted turret. The main reason I have that is because it procs a node from the bottom path of the class tree that gives you a 30% AP boost whenever you use a decay skill. So it fits that perfectly, has a nice short cooldown. I can keep that buff up all the time. The next cooldown I have is Cryo Turret, and the reason I've got that is because I was looking to make a Cryo Turret build, so it's kind of important to have that one. The mods I'm running on Cryo Turret are Hellshot, which causes them to scale from status power on your gear, so you got to have gear that has status power on it. But that is a significant damage increase when you get that, so Hellshot's really important. And it's only a class 1 or level 1 modification, so that one everybody should have. Then the other mod I'm using is Twins. It gives you 2 cryo turrets instead of 1, so it's double the damage, double the life leech, double the CC. Pretty important mod. That one is a level 3 mod, and so that's the 2 mods I'm using with that. And while we're right here in this spot, I'll just point out this build's really nice for soloing these zone controls, because I have AoE damage and I have CC that can slow the enemies down. And then also I just threw a turret up on top of that cliff that you just saw a moment ago, and that's why the enemies were standing up there instead of coming down here. So I had them distracted with that turret. So this build is it's pretty nice for all these levels where enemies rush at you and you need to control an area, and there's several of these, so I really like it for these levels. Now getting back to the cooldowns or the skills down there, I've got Cold Snap as my final skill, and the mod that I've got on that is Icicle, just because it is a lot of AoE damage, and it's just, you know, really nice, works well into this frozen theme that I've got going on here. And what it does when an enemy's frozen and you kill the frozen enemy, they explode and deal a nice burst of AoE damage to the surrounding enemies. So works really nice, like I said, with this build. Does a significant amount of damage. It's usually, I think, the 4th item down on my damage list. The first is usually either Moaning Winds or Scrap Grenade. The next will be Cryo Turrets, and then the next one's usually Icicle. So that's the skills and the cooldowns I'm using. The weapons and mods on the weapons I'll do next. I'm using the Daimyo submachine gun. The reason I'm using this is because the Scrap Grenade mod adds a scrap grenade to the first round fired from a magazine. The Daimyo has a 1.1 second reload time, so what I'm doing is firing off one quick burst, reloading, firing off one quick burst, reloading, and each one of those bursts, because I reload in between, has a scrap grenade, which does a nice little bit of damage. Now the scrap grenade does take a little bit of getting used to. It falls as it moves outward, so you sometimes have to aim above enemies, and if enemies are nearby, I suggest aiming at their feet, because if you shoot past them with the scrap grenade, you're going to do nothing. But the scrap grenade has like a 5-meter AoE radius, so if you shoot at the ground, even if you miss the enemy, the explosion of the scrap grenade is going to hit them. So it's a pretty cool mod. The mod does have a bug that you will see occasionally. I've only seen it a couple times. I've played a lot of levels with scrap grenades. Seen this bug a couple times. But what happens is your scrap grenade just simply goes away. You no longer have scrap grenade. I don't know where it went. It's gone. If you notice that happens, all you can do is exit the software, close the game, reboot the game, and go back in and start over. It's sad, but that's what you have to do when that happens. But like I said, it doesn't happen very frequently, so it's not a big deal. My other gun is the Animois. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but that's how I'm saying it. The Animois, I've got Fortress and Moaning Winds on it. I know that's real imaginative, but hey, it's effective and it works fairly well for this build. It's not as strong as it is on a Devastator build, but it's strong enough to be viable. So that's what I got on that guy. And then for my sidearm, I've got a gun with clip combustion, which is like a little mini Moaning Winds, and then I've got Moaning Winds on there with that. So just a nice little combination. I've really enjoyed the way the build plays, and I've been able to gold most of the CT15 expeditions. The ones I know off the top of my head that I've done without trouble regularly are like Chem Plant, Heart of the Wild, Time Worn Spire, Marshland Caverns, Archways of Enoch, Stargrave, and then I think I've managed, it's really tight on Colosseum, it's really tight on Drought Palace, but it's possible. And anyway, that being said, I think it's viable CT15, solid CT14, and then multiplayer. I can't imagine why you wouldn't want a guy on your team that freezes everything, unless you're just wanting to gather all the enemies up. But I usually gather them before I freeze them, so that's not necessarily bad either. In any case, hope you guys have enjoyed this. Coming up here in a moment, I do have the damage breakdown displayed, and then the gear and the class tree. So I do have a few tips now that I think about it. When you put your turrets out in a level like this where all the enemies rush you, I usually try to put them in a zone. I don't put them all in one spot because you don't want like a brood mother to come and just smack all of them and destroy them. So spread them out a little bit and play near your turrets, because those things do more damage than you think. So I usually run in a circle around the area that my turrets are in. Don't forget to reapply the turrets to keep your buffs up. On the levels where you're proceeding through a map with human enemies, throw the turrets out in front of you behind enemy lines, and then work your way into your turrets. Because those turrets, the other thing about the turrets, I may have mentioned this earlier, but I'll mention it again because it's that important. You're getting a lot of skill life leech off your turrets. That's where most of your healing comes from. If you'll notice, my health is refilling. It's not because I'm doing anything else. It's just my turrets refilling my health. So super important to have those out there. But I think that's all I got for you guys. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll leave the last couple of moments here, and then the damage breakdown and skill tree you can enjoy in silence. Have a good day.
Corrigan, area's clear.
Well done, Outrider. I can send my people back in.
What will you use the metal for? Weapons?
I've got enough munitions to kill everything on this planet 3 times over. I've been thinking people are ready to start doing real business. They're desperate for some official coinage, preferably the kind with my face on it.